She smiled at him the way she smiled at everyone. Warm, genuine, unbothered by the dragon tattoo crawling up his neck or the blood still fresh under his nails. But Ji-hoon knew the difference between kindness and suicide. And in his world, they were the same thing. Before we dive into Act 1, if you enjoyed this hook and want to see how this dangerous love story unfolds, please hit that like button. Drop a comment below telling me what you think will happen to Nadine, and subscribe so you never miss these emotional stories. Your support means everything. Ji-hoon's knuckles were still bruised when he pushed open the cafe door at 2 a.m. The neon sign outside flickered. Seoul Night's Coffee, a 24-hour refuge for insomniacs and men like him who couldn't go home covered in other people's mistakes. He didn't look at the barista. He never did. Eye contact was a contract in his world, and he didn't sign contracts with innocence. Americano, black, no sugar. His voice was gravel and ice. But then she spoke. Coming right up. Long night? Her accent curled around the Korean words like silk over stone. African, warm, unbothered. Ji-hoon's eyes flicked up involuntarily. She was smiling at him. Not the nervous smile people gave when they recognized the tattoo snaking up his neck. Not the fearful smile his enemies wore before they begged. This was real. Like he was just another customer. Like he was human. Nadine had been in Seoul for 8 months, working 2 jobs to send money home to Abuja. The cafe was her sanctuary. Quiet, simple, safe. She didn't know about territories or blood debts, or the man whose face was on every police bulletin in Gangnam. She just saw a tired man who needed coffee. You look like you've had a rough day, she said, pouring the espresso with practiced ease. Her hands were steady, her smile persistent. Sometimes a good cup of coffee can turn things around, you know? Ji-hoon stared at her. When was the last time someone had looked at him without fear? Without calculation? Without wanting something? It's just coffee, he said flatly. Maybe, Nadine replied, sliding the cup across the counter. But it's made with care. That counts for something. Their fingers brushed for half a second when he took the cup. Ji-hoon pulled back like he'd been burned. He left a 50,001 note on the counter, 10 times the price, and walked out without waiting for change. Nadine watched him go, tilting her head. Interesting customer, she whispered to herself. She had no idea she'd just smiled at the most dangerous man in Seoul, and he had no idea he'd just met the only person who could destroy him. Ji-hoon came back 3 nights later, same time, same order, same silence. But this time, Nadine was ready. Americano, black, no sugar. But how about you try something different tonight? She grinned, already pulling a shot. I make a mean cardamom latte. It's an African twist, trust me. I didn't ask for trust, Ji-hoon said, coldly. I asked for coffee. Nadine's smile didn't falter. And you'll get it, but life's too short to drink the same thing every night, don't you think? Something flickered in his eyes. Annoyance? Curiosity? He couldn't tell anymore. Fine. She worked in silence, but it wasn't uncomfortable. She hummed something low and melodic, a song from home. Ji-hoon found himself listening. When she placed the cup in front of him, their eyes met. Go on, she urged. Tell me what you think. He took a sip. The cardamom was unexpected, warm, complex, layered, like her. It's acceptable. Nadine laughed, a sound like wind chimes in summer. That's the best compliment I've gotten all week. Ji-hoon almost smiled. Almost. But then his phone buzzed. A message from his lieutenant. We have a problem. The Southside crew saw you. They're asking questions. His jaw tightened. He stood abruptly, the chair scraping loudly against the floor. Wait! Nadine reached out instinctively, her hand hovering near his. You didn't finish. Stay away from me, Ji-hoon said, his voice sharp as a blade. His eyes, cold as winter, locked onto hers. Don't smile at me. Don't talk to me. Don't. He paused, his throat working. Don't be kind to me. Nadine blinked, confused. I'm just being friendly. Friendly gets you killed in my world. His voice dropped to a whisper, and for the first time, she saw something beneath the ice. Fear. You don't know who I am, and you don't want to. He walked out, leaving the latte half-finished and Nadine standing alone, her heart pounding for reasons she didn't understand. What do you think Ji-hoon is trying to protect Nadine from? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Outside, Ji-hoon leaned against the wall, his hands shaking. He'd just made his first mistake in 10 years. He'd cared. Nadine couldn't stop thinking about him. The way his voice broke when he said, "my world." The warning in his eyes, the sadness beneath the coldness. She told herself it was just curiosity, that she felt bad for a clearly troubled customer. But late at night, lying in her tiny apartment, she replayed the moment their fingers brushed. The electricity, the weight of his gaze. "You're being ridiculous, Nadine," she muttered, turning over in bed. "He's just a customer." But the cardamom latte sat untouched on the counter for 3 days. She couldn't bring herself to throw it away. Meanwhile, Ji-hoon was at war with himself. "You're distracted," his second-in-command Tae-yang observed during a meeting. "That's dangerous." "I'm fine." "You hesitated during the interrogation last night. You let him go. That's not like you." Ji-hoon's fist slammed onto the table. "I said I'm fine." But he wasn't. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw her smile, heard her laugh, felt the absence of fear in her presence. It was intoxicating, terrifying. He sent men to watch the cafe from a distance. Not to harm her, to protect her, because word had gotten out. The South Side crew had seen him there. Twice. And in his world, patterns meant vulnerabilities. Vulnerabilities meant targets. He couldn't go back. He wouldn't. He'd kept his distance from anything pure for 15 years, since the day his sister died because someone wanted to hurt him. He wouldn't make that mistake again. But on the 7th night, at 2 a.m., his car pulled up outside Seoul Night's Coffee like it had a mind of its own. Nadine was wiping down the counter when the door chimed. She looked up and her face lit up in a way that made his chest ache. "You came back." "I shouldn't have." "But you did." She smiled softly. "Americano or cardamom latte?" Ji-hoon closed his eyes. "Why aren't you afraid of me?" "Should I be?" "Yes." "Well," Nadine said, pouring his coffee anyway, "I believe people deserve a chance to be more than their worst days. Whatever you've done, whoever you are right now, you're just a man who needs coffee. And I'm just a woman who makes it." Those words broke something inside him and built something new. The gunshot shattered the cafe window at exactly 2:17 a.m. Nadine screamed as glass exploded inward. Ji-hoon moved on instinct, vaulting over the counter, wrapping his body around hers, pulling them both to the floor as 2 more shots tore through the espresso machine. "Stay down," he barked, his gun already in his hand. What's happening?" "They found you because of me." His voice was raw with fury and regret. "I told you to stay away." Another shot. The cafe lights exploded, plunging them into darkness lit only by the neon sign outside. Ji-hoon's phone buzzed. A message. "Send out the girl or we burn the whole block." Damn it. He looked down at Nadine, her eyes wide with terror but still, somehow trusting. "We need to move, now." "I can't, my legs, I've got you." He scooped her up effortlessly, kicking open the back door. His car was already there, engine running. Tae-yang in the driver's seat. "Boss, they've got the street blocked." "Then unblock it." The next 15 minutes were a blur of screeching tires, gunfire, and Ji-hoon's arm locked around Nadine's shoulders as Tae-yang drove like a demon through Seoul's backstreets. When they finally stopped, they were in an underground garage beneath a luxury apartment building. "You'll stay here tonight," Ji-hoon said, his tone leaving no room for argument. "It's safe. Guarded. They won't find you." Nadine's hands were shaking. "Who are they? Who are you?" Ji-hoon met her eyes, and for the first time he didn't hide. "I'm the man who destroys everything he touches, and you—" His voice cracked. "You were supposed to be the exception." He turned to leave, but Nadine grabbed his wrist. "Don't you dare walk away now. You don't get to upend my life and then vanish. I deserve the truth." Ji-hoon looked at her hand on his wrist, so small, so fierce. "You deserve better than the truth," he whispered. But he stayed. The apartment was cold, sterile, expensive. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the Han River, but the view felt more like a cage than a luxury. Nadine sat on the leather couch, wrapped in Ji-hoon's jacket, still trembling. He poured her tea, his hands surprisingly gentle. "I run the Baeko clan," he said quietly, sitting across from her. "We control half of Gangnam, gambling, protection, imports. I've killed 17 men with my own hands, ordered the deaths of 34 more." Nadine's breath hitched, but she didn't look away. "The men who shot at you tonight? Rival gang. They've been trying to take my territory for months. When they saw you smile at me, when they saw me come back, they knew." His jaw clenched. "They knew you mattered." "Why?" Nadine asked, her voice barely a whisper. "Why do I matter?" Ji-hoon's eyes found hers, and the vulnerability there was staggering. "Because for the first time in 15 years, someone looked at me and didn't see a monster." Silence stretched between them. "My sister was 19, Ji-hoon continued, his voice hollow. "She worked at a flower shop. Innocent. Kind. Like you. They took her to get to me. By the time I found her—" He stopped, his hands curling into fists. "I became what I am today because I failed to protect what mattered. I won't fail again." Nadine reached across the space between them, her hand covering his fist. "I'm not your sister. And I'm not fragile. You're in danger because of me. Maybe." Nadine's eyes were fierce now. "But I'm also alive because of you. You could have left me in that cafe. You didn't." "I should have. But you didn't." She squeezed his hand. "Tell me something, Ji-hoon. When you're with me, do you feel like a monster?" He looked at their joined hands like he was seeing a miracle. "No," he admitted. "I feel human." "Then maybe," Nadine said softly, "that's who you really are." 3 days passed in the safe house. Ji-hoon came and went, handling business, coordinating protection, eliminating threats. But every night he returned to find Nadine waiting. She didn't ask to leave. She didn't complain. Instead, she cooked spicy Nigerian jollof rice that made his eyes water and his soul sing. "You don't have to do this," he said, watching her move around the kitchen with ease. "I want to." Nadine smiled. "Besides, I've seen you eat. Cup noodles and black coffee aren't a food group, Ji-hoon." He almost laughed. Almost. They ate together in comfortable silence, and afterward Nadine convinced him to watch a Nollywood film. Ji-hoon sat stiffly at first, but soon found himself drawn into the melodrama, the humor, the heart. "You're smiling," Nadine observed. "I am not." "You absolutely are." She poked his arm playfully. "See? You're human after all." Ji-hoon caught her hand, his thumb brushing over her knuckles. "You make me want to be." The air shifted. Nadine's breath caught as Ji-hoon leaned closer, his forehead nearly touching hers. "If I kiss you," he whispered, "there's no going back. You become mine. And in my world, that's a death sentence. Nadine's hand cupped his scarred cheek. Then maybe it's time to change your world. Their lips met, soft, tentative, electric. It was a kiss that tasted of hope and danger, and something neither of them had felt in years. Belonging. When they pulled apart, Ji-hoon rested his forehead against hers, his eyes closed. "I'll keep you safe," he promised, "no matter what it costs." "I know," Nadine whispered back. But neither of them knew the cost would be everything. The call came at dawn. "Boss, we have a problem." Tae Yang's voice was grim. "The South Side crew, they know where she's from. They've sent men to Nigeria. They're threatening her family." Ji-hoon's blood turned to ice. "What?" "Her mother, her two younger brothers. They have addresses, photos. If you don't meet their demands, they'll—" He didn't need to finish. Ji-hoon already knew. He'd use the same tactic himself. Nadine appeared in the doorway, her face pale. "What's wrong?" Ji-hoon couldn't look at her. "They found your family." The words hung in the air like a noose. "No." Nadine's voice broke. "No, no, no, my mother, my brothers. They're using them as leverage. They want me to surrender my territory. If I don't—" Ji-hoon's fists clenched. "Nadine, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." "Sorry?" Nadine's voice rose, fury and terror mixing. "You're sorry? I told you I wasn't fragile, and you promised you'd keep me safe. But you never said anything about my family. They have nothing to do with this." "I know." "You don't know." Tears streamed down her face. "You brought death into my life, Ji-hoon. You made me care about you, made me believe we could—" She choked on a sob. "And now my family will pay for your sins." "I'll fix this." "How?" Nadine screamed. "How do you fix this? You're a killer, Ji-hoon. That's what you do. You destroy. And now you've destroyed me too." The words cut deeper than any blade ever had. Ji-hoon stepped back, his face a mask of stone even as his heart shattered. "You're right. This is what I do. I ruin everything I touch." "Ji-hoon? I'll end this war. I'll make sure your family is safe." But then, his voice was barely audible. "You need to go home. Forget you ever met me. Don't do this. It's already done." He walked out, and the door closing behind him sounded like a funeral bell. Nadine collapsed to the floor, sobbing, her heart breaking in ways she didn't know possible, and Ji-hoon, standing alone in the hallway, finally let a single tear fall. Ji-hoon stood in the abandoned warehouse at midnight, surrounded by enemies. 20 men, all armed, all waiting for his surrender. The Southside boss, a snake named Kwon, smiled coldly. "Give up your territory and the girl's family lives. Refuse, and we start with the youngest brother. Your choice, Beko." Ji-hoon's hand hovered over his gun. He'd spent 3 days orchestrating this moment, moving pieces like a chess, calling in favors, preparing for war. But as he stood there, he realized something. Nadine was right. He was a killer. He'd built an empire on blood and fear. And for what? Power? Respect? Survival? All of it meant nothing without her. "I have a counteroffer," Ji-hoon said calmly. Kwon laughed. "You're in no position to negotiate." "I am." Ji-hoon pulled out his phone, showing a live feed. It was Kwon's own family, wife, daughter, sitting in their living room, unaware of the snipers positioned outside. "You touch her family, I erase yours. You kill me. My men have orders to burn your entire bloodline to ash." Kwon's face went white. "But," Ji-hoon continued, his voice eerily calm, "I'll give you a third option. I walk away. From everything. The territory, the power, the life. You get what you want. Gangnam. And in return, you leave Nadine and everyone she loves alone. Forever." "You'd give up everything for some girl?" Ji-hoon's eyes were steel. "She's not some girl. She's the only good thing I've ever had. And I won't let your filth touch her." Kwon studied him, sensing the truth. "If you're lying, I'm not. I'll disappear. You'll never see me again. But if you ever go near her, Ji-hoon's voice dropped to a lethal whisper. I'll come back from hell itself to destroy you. The warehouse fell silent. Finally, Kwon nodded. Deal. 2 hours later, Ji-hoon stood outside the safe house one last time. He'd already transferred money to Nadine's account, enough to secure her family's future, to send her home safely, to give her the life she deserved. He couldn't see her, couldn't say goodbye. It would break them both. But as he turned to leave, the door opened. Nadine stood there, her eyes red from crying. I heard what you did, she whispered. Taeyang told me. You gave up everything. Your family is safe, that's all that matters. And what about you? I'll survive, I always do. That's not what I asked. Nadine walked toward him, her voice fierce. I asked about you, Ji-hoon. The man who made me cardamom lattes in the dark. The man who held me through nightmares. The man who chose me over an empire. Nadine. I was wrong, she said, tears spilling over. You're not a destroyer, you're a protector. And Her voice cracked. I love you. Ji-hoon's carefully constructed walls crumbled. You can't love me. Too late. Nadine cupped his face. So here's my choice. I'm not leaving, not without you. I have nothing to offer you now. You have yourself. That's enough. What would you do if you were Nadine? Would you stay with Ji-hoon or go home to safety? Let us know in the comments. 6 months later, Lagos, Nigeria. Nadine stood in her mother's kitchen teaching Ji-hoon how to make proper jollof rice. He was terrible at it, but he tried anyway, his sleeves rolled up, his tattoos on full display. Her younger brothers peppered him with questions. Did you really fight 20 guys? Can you teach us taekwondo? Are you going to marry our sister? Ji-hoon glanced at Nadine, a soft smile playing on his lips. A smile she'd earned, fought for, protected. Maybe, he answered, winking at her. After giving up his empire, Ji-hoon had vanished from Seoul. But not alone. Nadine had refused to let him disappear into darkness. Instead, she'd brought him into light, her home, her family, her world. It hadn't been easy. Her mother was suspicious at first. Her brothers were wary. But slowly they saw what Nadine saw. A man trying to atone. A man learning to live, not just survive. Ji-hoon now ran a small security firm. Legitimate, legal, clean. He trained people to protect themselves, to defend the vulnerable. It was his way of rewriting his story. Every morning, Nadine still made him cardamom lattes. And every morning, Ji-hoon still looked at her like she was a miracle. Do you miss it? Nadine asked one evening, as they sat on the porch, watching the sunset paint Lagos in gold. Power? The control? Ji-hoon pulled her closer, pressing a kiss to her temple. I don't miss the darkness, but I found something better. What's that? You. His voice was thick with emotion. You smiled at me like I was just a customer, like I was human. And you gave me a reason to become one. Nadine turned in his arms, her hands framing his face. You were always human, Ji-hoon. You just needed someone to remind you. Their kiss was soft, unhurried, full of promise. In the distance, her mother called them for dinner. Her brothers laughed over some joke. The world moved on, warm and alive and safe. Ji-hoon had spent 15 years building an empire of fear, but Nadine had built something stronger in 6 months, a home. And as the sun set on their new beginning, Ji-hoon whispered against her lips, Thank you for seeing me. Nadine smiled, the same smile that had started everything. Thank you for letting me. If this story touched your heart, smash that like button, comment below with your favorite moment, and subscribe for more emotional stories that prove love can bloom even in the darkest places. See you in the next one.